And welcome back to part 3 of the trip to Mars. It has been some 500 days since we left the base at Brighton Beach on the Moon. We have been guests at the International Space Station for the duration of that time, appearing in television shows and talk shows and movies even. We have all become quite famous YouTubers, vloggers, and personalities extraordinaire, making a good bundle of money in the process. But now the time has come. We have undocked from the space station, made a couple of orbital maneuvers to align our orbit with our intended trajectory. We are now ready, after having been refueled one last time by a small utility cargo shuttle bringing us a load of fuel to top off our tanks for the trip. We are now ready to proceed on our course to Mars. I hope everybody didn't party too hard at the New Year's party last night on the station, because we're ready to go. Well, as I said, it has been some 500 days since we first docked at the space station, and you can see that here on the mission elapsed time indicator on the control panel. And if I take a look down here, you'll see first that we have been completely refueled and resupplied. And interval timer number 1, I started that going when we undocked from the space station an hour and 35 minutes ago. We are now in position. We have made the maneuvers necessary to align our orbit with the flight path that we intend to take. Our course is all plotted. I stayed up last night and worked on plotting the course while everybody else partied at the station, but that's the kind of thing I do. We are now 1600 seconds away from our escape burn, and so we will advance time ahead, dry kill rotation, so that we don't spin all over the place, and we will advance around our orbit to this area here, where we will begin the burn in 1500 seconds now. Time approaches. I hope everyone is over their hangovers, because we're in for a wild ride and something of a long one. Less than 5 minutes now. Less than 2. Time flies when you're having fun. Getting into position. Seconds from the burn. And of course, as usual, it is night. We're on the night side of the planet when doing the maneuver. One, 0, ignition, full thrust. I must say that is rather spectacular, though. Sort of a purplish light from the engines. I don't know what they're burning, but it's impressive. Now we've got just over 3,200 meters per second in delta V to burn, so I'm going to advance time a little bit here to move this along. Very good. And let's see this. Correction for the semi-major difference. Bring that number down. It's small enough that we can get away with correcting it just with translation thrusters. That's good. Looks like just about as close as we're going to get here. Yeah, it's starting to go back up, so we'll stop trying to fix it. That's it. Our course is pretty much lined up. We will have to make a couple of mid-course corrections along the way, but it's a long trip and we have lots of time. Yes, we will actually be able to see something of the Earth as we pull away here. Get our external camera set, kill our rotation, and let's move time ahead. Everybody say goodbye to the Earth. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 years before we get back, at the earliest. Like I said, it's a very long trip. Out to 1,000x now. And 10,000. And of course, we spin. We kill rotation again. Watch our orbit. In fact, I'm going to bring up the orbit display over here. I'm going to deliberately reference the Earth so that I can watch the gravitational influence drop. When this number reaches to 0, stage 1, our escape plan, will be completed and we will be in the eject plan. I'm going to back off the time acceleration here a little bit so that we don't miss it. Maybe use little bursts of time acceleration. It's not that it's critical that we come back to normal time the instant that we break out of the escape plan, but that's when I like to start to think about looking things over. Should happen any time now. There we are. All right. Everything looks good. We are here near the Earth's orbit, pulling away. We'll come around this way, and we will rendezvous with Mars here in, I believe it's roughly 7 to 9 months or so. And we have been gone from the space station 6 days, 14 hours so far. So, we will try to kill our rotation one more time and accelerate time again. This is, I don't know if you can see the blue line here. It's almost overlapping the green right now. That's the Earth's position. This blue line is the position of Mars in its orbit. And as we come around here following this green ellipse, you'll see the position of Mars coming along with it till we finally meet up here. And of course, in spite of all my efforts to kill rotation, the ship tumbles in space as we proceed. Fortunately, it's not a violent tumble. It's just kind of drifting loose, tumbling. We'll have to talk to somebody about attitude thruster control when we get back. I don't know why it is, but every time I try to do something about killing rotation so that I can travel in time acceleration for long distances without spinning, I end up spinning anyway. I don't know why that is. And time progresses. It is now March, almost April of 2014. Now, the reason that we ended up having to leave so late, to wait until January of 2014 to leave, is that it took until then for Mars to be in a good position relative to Earth for us to actually be able to make this orbit using the minimum amount of fuel and time. Had we gone earlier, like when we arrived at the station, just get there, refuel, undock, and leave, it would have actually taken more fuel and more time, because that's just the way orbital mechanics work. Mars was that far out of position. And now as we approach the roughly 3/4 point, it's time to stop and think about a course correction. Yes, I would say so. So we will switch on maneuver mode and do that thing we do. To bring our closest approach down to something approaching the 300 kilometers that we are actually after. Okay, this has got us pretty close already, so a little bit of plane change I think will take care of it. Perhaps not in that direction, and with a finer setting. Doing better. Okay, back to prograde. Or a finer setting yet. Make smaller adjustments. All right, there we go. There's our 300-kilometer orbit. And now, at this point, it doesn't matter if we're a few minutes off on the actual burn time, so we will just, as I like to say, turn and burn.
Rotation.
Get ourselves lined up. It's a fairly small burn. It's only 123 meters per second in delta V we have to take care of. And here we go.
Translation.
There we go. Maneuver mode off. And we will, of course, be making another correction as we get about around here. So, let me do this once again. Kill rotation and advance time. And in spite of my efforts to kill rotation, we still rotate. Exactly why that is, I would love to know. These numbers over here are changing, but as far out as we are, they're not exactly accurate. They become more accurate as we get closer. It's a good thing that from the crew compartment we don't notice this rotation. It's only noticeable now because we're using time acceleration. And I'm going to call this phase of the mission a success and complete when we reach the point where we can see Mars ahead of us, but we're still far enough out to make the necessary alignment maneuvers to line up with the base and so on, which will take place in the next video in this series. Time is progressing. You can see Mars is getting closer and closer to us as we approach the rendezvous point here. In fact, right here is a good place to do another mid-course correction. Got our minimum altitude set more in the neighborhood of where we want it. Okay. Very good. 291, that looks good. And the amount of velocity we're going to use is very small because we're still quite a ways out. Not even 1 meter per second. I'll be able to do this one on thrusters. Okay.
Rotation.
Get lined up.
Translation.
Using the maneuvering thrusters for this maneuver. The main engine would be too powerful. All right. Closest approach is now set our minimum altitude at 296 kilometers. Very good. Kill rotation in a vain attempt, a foolish attempt apparently, to not spin, and accelerate time. I notice it starts slowly at first, and then it just gets more. In fact, let me set up the orbit MFD. And reference Mars, so that we will be able to tell when we're starting to come within its gravitational sphere of influence. We'll see that when this number starts to rise. And here we are in November of 2014. Starting to see some gravitational influence from Mars. We are less than 500,000 kilometers away. Okay, auto-reference, transfer that to the HUD, and turn prograde, and we should see the red planet ahead of us. And there it is. And if you will note, this marker right here on the HUD indicates the actual flight path that we take, where our velocity, the direction our velocity is taking us. It's the velocity vector marker. And you will note that we are approaching the night side of Mars. This does not surprise me a bit. Every time I approach somebody or another, be it the moon, Earth, or as you can see, Mars, it is on the night side of the planet. Exactly why this is, I couldn't begin to tell you. But it always seems to work out this way, arriving at night, on the dark side of things, as it were. Take a look outside. There it is, the red planet itself. And now, what I'm going to do is save the simulation in this state, and in the next video, we will tackle the task of lining up with and landing at the base on Olympus Mons. Thanks for flying TFC Spaceways. Take it easy. I'm out of here.